Hey, this is Patrick from LSAT Lab. Let's get working on some big picture questions in reading comp. The first couple lessons in this series were all about being better readers. We got to develop a skill of using only about 3 minutes to digest the big picture, so knowing what it is in the first place and then knowing how to retain it. Now we're going to start talking about different question types and families of question types. We always got to use these same 3 free tests that LSAT allows us. If you want to open a new browser tab, head on over to lsatlab.com. Darla, Charlene, give them a nice welcome. It would take you about 30 seconds to a minute to sign up. You just have to confirm an email. But then you could pull up these reading comp passages and control them a little bit more, see them a little better. Totally optional. Everything you need will be provided on screen.
Mom's home! Hey, Mom!
How was work today at LSAT Lab?
Honey, it's time you know. I don't work at LSAT Lab. I'm a supervillain. I was poisoning the city's water supply.
We've been focused on our big picture reading skills for a couple lessons, and the next handful of lessons will be all about different question type families. So this is how we would divide up the reading comp question types into a few groups. The group we're looking at today is big picture, so what's the main point? What was the purpose of this passage? How is it organized, or what would be a good title for it? However, main point is the one we'll always see. Purpose and concern are relatively common. Title never happens, so we don't really worry about that one. For all of these questions, think about where in the passage should I be rereading? Let me try to put that in my own words, and then let me try to articulate what I want the answer to sound like. So more simply, hunt for the right text, slow down enough to understand it, and then make sure you have a firm sense of what you're after, because the correct answer is not written to be appealing.
Are you guys ready to get in there and find the main point?
Yeah! Did you just escape from a hospital?
Yeah!
You're reading passage 2 from test 65 and you got 3 jobs. What's the main topic? What's a good framework for organizing the passage? And what sentences sound like the author? All right, while it's fresh in your mind, go ahead and try the main point question on your own. You can always flip the video back if you need to check the wording of the passage. We need to be able to get through that in about 45 seconds. Most passages are going to start with a main point question. When we look at these answers, we got to be stubbornly thinking, it's got to be about this central topic, and it's got to express my author's purpose. And if I'm down to 2, I'm going to check my most valuable sentences. There's a special kind of trap answer category here, wrong emphasis, where it's saying something true, but it's just way too narrow or not the central topic. Whenever we read the first paragraph, we're trying to figure out what is the topic, what kind of framework will I use, do I hear the author? And the first sentence is normally what's telling us the central topic, so you slow down and try to get a mental image. Recent decades have seen more information recorded than any other era. Going to my happy place. More information recorded by what? Like surveillance cameras? We're talking Big Brother, Patriot Act? Or do they mean like the fact that we're all celebrities? Actually, that reminds me, my phone is full. I need to dump pictures on my computer. All right, so it's saying the potential for losing this info is greater than ever. Well, I don't get that, but all right, my topic is we're gonna lose all the stuff we're recording. Now I need to go shopping for a framework. We discussed the top 5 in the second video. Old, new, yeah, I see ya. Seems like a pretty worthy choice because of recent. But then we do get a second sentence saying, this prospect is of great concern to archivists. That kind of sounds like we're describing a problem, so maybe problem solution would be better.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't hear him. Can anybody help me? What did he say would be a good framework?
I'm sorry, guys.
Enjoy your passage, Cornelius.
Scram, riffraff. All right, let's make it official. Put it on the big board, Mitch.
All right. You know my name's not Mitch. You are just being passive-aggressive.
And once you pick a good framework, then you make space in your brain for the big ideas.
Frameworks give us some blanks that we've got to fill in. I've got a problem and a solution. The problem is that we're recording too much stuff. Archivists can't save the good stuff. The solution, still waiting on. When we move on in that paragraph, one archivist notes that it's not a solution, it's a callback. The previous sentence said archivists are concerned. And so here is one archivist saying, yeah, the quantity of material being saved has gone up a ton. People are recording more than ever. The second half is new though. It's saying, and the durability of media is going down. So that must be the potential for losing the information. Okay, so the real problem is archivists need to save stuff, but the media is sort of like dissolving. It's non-durable. We have to recognize callbacks and return to the bigger claim. One archivist went back to archivists, for example. Oh, hey, Officer Reba.
Hey, what's the big idea?
Thank you. We love that catchphrase. Take care. So we're always going to return when we see, for example, to that previous claim. Durability is decreasing. You can see at the end a couple of centuries, 40 years, 20 years. Tons of examples of media and their durability decreasing. And note takers, I'm looking in your direction. The blue headline claim is all you would care about. You don't want any of these details. Get them out of here. Even if I did take like an entire night making that graphic. Okay, so the rest of that paragraph is just supporting details. So at the end of the first paragraph, we've got our problem. We're still hungering for that solution. However, when we're doing a problem solution passage, we're expecting the author's big idea to be a solution. But there are some variations. Sometimes there's really no solution. It just is describing a problem. That's the main point. Other times a solution's mentioned, but the author is like, but that's not gonna work. Most of the time the author is either piggybacking on someone else's solution or offering their own. So as we head into this second paragraph, we are thinking, will we get a solution? The very first sentence is definitely advertising, hey, I got an answer right here. So there's definitely a solution in this passage considered. Does our author like it? Well, she says it would seem to offer an answer, and that's some heavy attitude foreshadowing. When we do opinion questions where they ask us, what would the author be most likely to agree with? The correct answer usually leans on little adverbs or attitudinal giveaways, like, it would seem to offer an answer. And when you start priming yourself for a pivot sentence, which we do indeed get, you're priming yourself for a big idea sentence. So our author's big point is that computers aren't a great solution because the format keeps changing. And then she starts to support it.
Big idea. What's the big idea?
Can someone tell me if defunding the police would get rid of Reba? For example, and both indicate support. So those aren't big ideas, but this last one is adorned with another pivot. And so we assume this kind of relates to the big picture purpose whenever we see these, but however, yet recently. The author's saying they're running out of time, even if we get this new technology that would be the perfect solution. So it does say there is a good solution coming, but it's like, yeah, but even if we do, we just won't have time. Decisions have to be made too quickly. Ideally, we would be very thoughtful about them, but that's not going to happen. The author's expressing a lot of pessimism and ends with the danger is that the sheer volume is going to make it impossible for archivists to sort out the essential stuff. So we definitely want to focus on the problem. The solution? Nothing but the tumbling tumbleweeds there. This was just about an author pretty stressed out. There's too much stuff being recorded. The durability and shape-shifting of the media sucks. They're not going to be able to save all the good stuff. Go ahead and pause the recording one more time just to revisit your original choice, see if you still like it. My mantra going through these answer choices would be like, okay, remember, I just want to hear like, given how much we're recording and how non-durable the media is, it's a struggle to preserve the good stuff. I want to kind of simplify it to the main clause, so I'm getting rid of these prepositional phrases for a second, just so I can focus on subject and verb. The increasing volume and decreasing durability are making it more difficult. That sounds a lot like what I wanted. To carry out their charge sounds weird. To carry out their charge, if we look back to the beginning, it actually does say that archivists are charged with preserving vital records. Okay, so never mind, that word is fine, it just seemed really, really weird. Guys, I know I don't break the fourth wall a lot, but it's me, Patrick. And what I'm about to say isn't catchy or elegant, but it's important. In fact, one of the most important things we do in Reading Comp is research our qualms.
Research your qualms.
It's very common that we get rid of a correct answer because of some phrase or word we don't like, but if we actually looked it up in the passage, we'd find, oh, never mind, I can make peace with that. B says that modern data techniques have enabled archivists to distinguish the essential from the crap better than ever. Enabled is positive, so that's completely wrong. We're looking for a problem. And sort the good from the crap better than ever before is way too strong. It does ring familiar because they said the potential for losing info is greater than ever before. We want to see it's not describing a problem or it's saying something cray-cray strong. When a sentence begins, many people believe that the sentence grammatically restarts after the word that. So just compress that down to like, okay, archivists are saying that conventional lasts longer than electronic. My chart! Oh my god, my chart is relevant? No, wait, it's definitely small. We knew it was small. So this totally has the wrong emphasis. What would the archivist say if they had one thought? The world is burning! Stop taking selfies! Saying that conventional lasts longer than modern isn't describing a problem. D describes a problem in its main clause, but it locates the cause of that problem as the capacity limitations rather than the durability of modern media. When we check the tape, pun intended, it doesn't occupy a lot of space. There's plenty of capacity on modern media. It's just not durable and the format keeps changing. So sometimes answers say a lot of the right things, but they're identifying the wrong causal relationship. They're either inventing one or in this case, just getting it wrong. E starts off pretty good because it's got the correct cause. It's saying like modern media is making it so easy to make stuff that, and we should be following through with that it's like climate change for archivists out there. They are in a bad situation. They're not going to be able to save the good stuff. But the main clause here just says what we're creating is inessential and not valuable. That's not naming the problem correctly, so it doesn't have the right emphasis of the passage. Emphasis, emphasis, emphasis is your shortcut. When you insist on main point being topic plus purpose, you're like, hey, the subject noun of this answer better be archivists, and it needs to be conveying a problem. Go ahead and pause and reread the main point answer. The main clause is that this thing and that thing are making life difficult for archivists. Pause and just check out all these simplified main clauses. When you get down to the main clause of the sentence, you can see whether or not the subject sounds like archivists and whether the content sounds like it's describing a problem. How many would we keep if we were scoring it that way? Looks like only A and D are talking about something bad for archivists. Once you filter it down to the right main clauses, then it's normally going to be something's too strong or a detail is off. On all questions, we're thinking, where can I look? What do I need to think about or understand? What do I think a correct answer would sound like? So in main point, we need to look at our most valuable sentences to reference stuff, and we need to understand big ideas versus just supporting crap. We can anticipate by thinking topic plus purpose. Pause the recording and figure out which 1, 2, or 3 sentences you think are the most valuable. We would go with the first couple and the last one, because the first couple are where we initially define the problem. Archivists are screwed by how much information we're creating. And then the last sentence is just sort of a re-summary of the problem. Kind of feels more like the takeaway, like, well, it's going to be virtually impossible for them to save all the good stuff. We actually get to sort of measure ourselves on how good we picked by comparing it to the language of the correct answer. It's pretty nice here. The increasing volume of information being stored sounds like the accumulation of records stored. The decreasing durability sounds like non-durable media. Hard for archivists, it's virtually impossible. It's of great concern to archivists. So everything in that main point answer resonated very tightly with our most valuable sentences. We know we did the right job. We know that our understanding of the big picture is aligned with LSAC's.
What do you say? Ready for a new mission?
No,
we want ice cream.
One scoop, no toppings.
And lucky us, we get a scoop of knowledge, courtesy of passage 3 to 71. Pause the video, read it, and when you're done, pick your most valuable sentences. Welcome back. Once again, try the main point question. If you get down to 2 answer choices, start comparing them back to the language in your most valuable sentences. Before we dissect this question, let's make sure we're on the same page with the passage. We need a topic, a framework, and an author. That first sentence is really long, so if I remove the 2 double comma modifiers, then I'm left with, the performance of the best practitioners is so good that some people think they must be innately talented. So we're talking about superstars who might be innately talented. How about framework clues? Some people believe is a clue that you're normally going to counter it, so challenge a position. And then accounting for is like a causal explanation. So I'd be thinking maybe challenge position or explain something puzzling. The next 3 sentences are all the same point of view, they, and they're in agreement. So I'm still waiting for a pivot away from this point of view. And what is this glorious double pivot? It's like a double rainbow. What does it mean? Well, here it means the author's saying, being a superstar comes from acquired skills, not innate abilities. That's my most valuable sentence, because my author is both challenging the position and offering her explanation for the puzzling phenomenon. We're asking ourselves, what accounts for things like LeBron James? How does that happen? And our author is saying it's mostly acquired skills, not innate stuff. The original position was, I think it's innate stuff, and our author is going, no, it's pretty much acquired skills. Even an old new framework would have made sense because of the recently. So the old idea was innate, the new idea was the acquired skills, and where does our author stand? The first sentence of the last paragraph is a biggie because our author has a therefore. And she's also calling back to the original claim. She's saying to these some people, so the evidence does not support the claim that you have to invoke innate talent. And since the author kind of bookended the passage with going back to body slam them, I'm thinking challenge position. It's not innate, it's acquired skills and physiological adaptations. Where do we think were the most valuable sentences? These two, because they were the two that encapsulated the idea of not innate, it's acquired. Once again, pause the recording so you can see how we extracted a simpler main clause from the more complicated answer choice. Okay, so we got to be sure of what we're looking for so that we can be decisive. The topic is superior performance, what causes it? And the purpose was like to challenge the idea that it's innate and say instead, no, it's more like training and adaptations. So the only main clauses up here that are talking about superior performance are B and D. That quickly whittles us down, and then we might ask, is there anything too strong? Any details off? B is saying anyone can achieve superstar performance with enough training. Is that right? Did we say something that's strong? What should we do, guys? Geez, I don't know. First thought that comes to my head, maybe research your qualms. But where do we look? We look at our most valuable sentences because we're doing big picture. So when we check our most valuable sentences, is it saying that like anyone can be a superstar with enough training and practice? Take a sec to read this last sentence.
Bing bong, bing bong.
Jeff,
Yep.
did you understand what you read?
No.
You gonna get back in there?
Yeah.
All right, let's all be like Jeff. Takes a while to comprehend this, so pause it and make sure it sinks in, make it your own. Ultimately, it's saying that you don't need innate talent to explain LeBron James. An average level of talent plus an insane amount of training can do it. So it's not the case that anyone can achieve it because you still need like an average level of talent. The language match of D is better because you got may result, may suffice. D actually matches very, very closely to our first most valuable sentence. Recent research, recent research. Domains of excellence, fields of superior performance. Exceptional performance arises from, outstanding performance results from. Adaptations and training, adaptations and complex skills, rather than innate factors or abilities. A, we said was wrong because it had the wrong emphasis, but it also just said something untrue at the end. It never said that your motivation can be altered through training. That's just like a word salad of the final ideas in the passage. As discussed, B is too strong because it's not fair to say anyone can achieve this. C is too strong because it's saying research has shown innate is irrelevant, but we said research suggests innate is predominantly not what's going on. So again, checking our most valuable sentences chases us away. The last one's focused on early childhood proficiency, which is not anywhere close to the central topic of this passage. And nobody's revised their theories, the author is just challenging some people. Here's the passage for reference. We're going to show you the main purpose question, so you can flip back to that if you want to look at it. Give it a try. All right, when we're asked about the primary purpose or the primary concern, we'll again be hunting, looking at our most valuable sentences. We'll be trying to, again, just understand a framework or big picture. And then when we're anticipating the language, we're trying to remove the topic. So we're trying to just say it totally abstractly and generically. So how would that work? All right, well, our most valuable sentences were these. Our framework was that we were like challenging a position, old or new. So if I'm trying to be unspecific, we presented research that was there to like challenge a position. We're trying to undermine or evaluate the original idea. And it is a discussion of what causes superstar performance, so like an explanation for a phenomenon. So the passage wanted to present research to undermine an explanation. Once again, pause the recording to see how we're simplifying the answers. When it comes to A, I'm not cool with calling this a revised version of a theory because, the old idea was innate talent and we're kind of just throwing that out, not revising it. I also don't think the old situation was misinterpreting this evidence because we didn't even have this evidence until recently. Some views based on old research could match the views in the first paragraph. It does say they supported it with data. We're saying new stuff is showing that's inapplicable. That matches the vibe of challenge a position. But some views based on old research, okay, so they were supported with data about heritability. They were based exclusively on random samples of the general population rather than superstar performers. Okay, and the new research is in different domains of excellence. I don't love it, but I'm keeping it. Some of it matches. This main clause didn't make any sense. People are gonna say I'm wrong about this. There's no anticipating objections, because our author doesn't show up till the very end. E talked about axioms or theoretical postulations in different fields of inquiry, but none of that is a match. In case that was too fast, pause and take a sec to review these. Main point questions. What are we expecting out of the correct answer? Topic plus framework. It'll sound a lot like our most valuable sentences. The subject will be highly featured in the main clause. And the best available might be incomplete, so don't get too picky. Wrong answers will have something too strong, focus on the wrong thing, introduce some wrong causal relationship, new comparison, new noun, or it'll actually kind of be contradicting itself in one of the details. Primary purpose, primary concern is more about framework than topic. They might not even use the topic. It'll still feel like the most valuable sentences, but it won't have any of those specific nouns. It'll be a more abstract version. Meanwhile, the wrong answers are going to mainly be wrong just because you can point to some abstract term that doesn't match up with anything. Occasionally everything matches, but it's just too narrow, more narrow than the correct answer. Let's take another look at what mismatched. We could see the revised previous theory didn't match, using the same evidence didn't match, the author defending herself against objections didn't have a match, and then different but related fields of inquiry, we couldn't match that up. All right, let's try one more passage, one more question before we get out of here. Pause the video, read the passage. And while that passage is fresh in your head, go ahead and attempt this primary concern question. Just kidding. We need to get in the habit of pre-phrasing a prediction. So pause the recording and think of what you want this answer to say before we look. Okay, you got something? All right, now take a look at your 5 options. Pause and unpause when you've got a choice. We dissected this passage in episode 2, so we'll just do it quickly here. We can tell it's humanities because it's about a painter, and so the normal humanities framework is highlight noteworthy. The rest of that first paragraph is giving us little things like he was one of the foremost painters. It was an important development. So yeah, let's roll with highlight noteworthy. For that framework, the big ideas are, what are we talking about? Sam Gilliam. And then why do we care? And specifically, we're reading for things like, why is he important or different? What are the essential style qualities, or how did he evolve? The end of the second paragraph, that sort of sentence, like this is what made him special, what made him rare, is where you get big ideas. The other black artists were too explicitly political. He was more subtle about it. So Sam Gilliam, known for not doing explicit political, doing non-representational, complex black experience stuff. The third paragraph gets into some other interesting phrases, like his paintings were epitomized. That sounds like the essence of his style. What is this saying? Oh, it's saying the big point we already had, not political. Okay, I don't need to add anything. Oh, he was the first painter. That's stressing something important or distinctive about him. So he draped a canvas around the room. He kind of made it 3D. Then you get real artsy-fartsy. These sort of humanities sentences, you can kind of just remember the author is summing up the essence. I don't understand it. But I do understand that he was using non-representational, not political, 3D cool stuff. Pause and see if you still like your answer. It's hard to predict correct answers here, so just think to yourself, if I can match it up, I'm going to keep it on the first pass. Do we talk about motivation? Yes, the headline of paragraph 2. Do we talk about the nature of his art? Yeah, throughout paragraph 3, they tell us its style, some of the stuff he did. Keep it. Do we talk about political themes that permeate his work? Heavens no, Betsy, the opposite. He was explicitly refusing to do explicit politics. So that one's gone. Permeate would mean like it was throughout his work. That's pretty strong. Do we describe how his style evolved? First paragraph is talking about an evolution, so I would probably keep that. The fourth one is saying that we demonstrated that his views were rare. And that last sentence of the second paragraph definitely said that his view was rare among African American artists. Gotta keep that. Not loving having 3 contenders, but that's where we're at. E is saying that we were demonstrating that he was able to transcend his technical limitations.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
He was technically limited, but he transcended it. So that doesn't match up with anything. Unfortunately, we're down to 3. On a second pass, if they all match, then what are we asking ourselves? How do we know one's better than the other? The question I normally ask myself at this point is, which of these answers wraps its arms around more of the passage, like touches more of the paragraphs? So A is talking about motivation and nature. I'm thinking, all right, well, motivation basically covers everything we talked about in paragraph 2. And then the nature of Gilliam's art, well, we described it all throughout paragraph 3. So I feel like A is wrapping its arms around paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. Where do we talk about Gilliam's evolution? That first sentence is about the evolution of the color field style. That's just part Gilliam, but that's kind of weird. The second paragraph is just about Gilliam not wanting to be like them. That's not evolution, that's saying no thank you. The third paragraph, I think, does talk about evolution, because we go from his early experiments and later he began to. So, oh, hi Nemo. So we definitely have some evolution there. The back end of the paragraph is sort of like where we're summing up his style. I don't know if that was kind of always his style or an evolved ending to his style. So maybe, but we definitely have some evolution in paragraph 3. Where do we talk about demonstrating he had a rare view among African American artists? We say it explicitly at the end of paragraph 2 and pretty much all throughout. So we got paragraph 2 covered. But that's the only paragraph where we're talking about him trying to be different from other black artists. He's part of the Washington Color School in the first paragraph, and there's nothing about him being different from other black artists in the last paragraph. So for D, we're probably only able to tag paragraph 2. So when we ask ourselves, all right, which of these wraps its arms around more of the passage, it's just a numbers game. A quantitatively wins, and that's what makes it our best answer. So the wrong answers there were too narrow. They were true, but they didn't cover as much. Take one last look at your main point correct answer and trap answer tendencies. The other question types in the big picture family are so rare that in these 3 free tests we're allowed to show you guys, there's only one example of any of them. We'll cover that in a little bonus video. Next full episode, we'll be talking about local purpose questions.
Thanks again for the ice cream, guy who just escaped from a hospital.
No problem. You guys learn anything about big picture questions?
You bet. Say, how did you pay for the ice cream? You don't have your wallet on you.
Well, the hospital gown may not have pockets, but the human body does.
This is one time I'm not going to research my qualms. I'll allow it. We'll see you next time. Check out more of our videos on YouTube or come visit us at lsatlab.com.